Hey everybody, welcome back. Stone Broke Adventure, 13-foot Boston whaler, 1971 restoration project. We're taking our time on this thing, trying to do it as right as possible. So this is episode 3, and we're gonna start working on beefing up this the chine rails, the chines, the keel, and then around here, around the edge, there's a lot of crazing, a lot of cracking on this, and I'm gonna show you what I plan on doing with that to kind of beef that up, fill in those cracks. Hopefully it works. If anybody watches this has any tips, advice, leave them in the comments down below. So let's get into it. Okay, so this is what I plan on using here. This is Sun-Cure polyester laminating resin without wax. I build surfboards. I use this Sun-Cure a lot, and I'll tell you the advantages of the Sun-Cure. So if we look down here, there's a lot of this crazing, a lot of cracking and crazing along where the rub rail is. I've taped everything off. What's nice about the Sun-Cure resin is it will not cure until it gets exposed to UV light. So you can actually, what I'm planning on doing, you see we got these crazing cracks here, a lot of little pinholes, right? We're gonna brush this down with this UV cure resin, and we're gonna let it set. And we got plenty of time to let that set, and that's gonna self-level. It's gonna level out, right? It'll give it time to fill in and kind of soak into these cracks. Come back, brush it out a little bit more if we want. Then I'm gonna open up the garage door. We're gonna let some of that sunlight come in and kind of tack cure this up. We're gonna put another coat on, and we're gonna put as many coats as we need to get these filled in. I've taped off the edges here, you know, a ½ inch or an inch out from the runners, from the keel, right, from the rub rail. That way I can come back in with a sander, and I'll be able to sand that edge smooth so you won't see that edge. So that's the plan. We're gonna do it here on the keel, on these little side keels. We got little nicks, just tiny little nicks. It's too hard to fill this in with, there's too many little nicks and pinholes to fill in with the fairing compound. So we're gonna slap this polyester resin on. And then on our final coat, we're gonna open up the garage. We're gonna let that UV hit it for just a minute, just to get it kind of semi-hard, semi-tacky. Let it start curing up. And then we're gonna cover it with PVA, polyvinyl alcohol. That polyvinyl alcohol is gonna act as an air inhibitor. So the laminating resin without wax will cure hard to the touch. No tacky on that. That's the plan. Okay, I'm gonna show you a little trick here before we get started. Cheap chip brush. We use these on surfboards. What you wanna do is you wanna get these bristles out of this brush. You wanna get some masking tape and just get this masking tape and smash that brush into that tape. And that's gonna capture a lot of those loose bristles. You don't want these bristles going into your resin. Now you're gonna have a few. You might want a pair of tweezers handy so you can pull them out so you're not using your finger. You don't want fingerprints in your half-cured resin. You don't want a bunch of fuzz and fur in your resin. So get these chip brushes nice and clean. Okay, so here's another tip. When you're using UV cure resin, you're gonna want a dark box. Right? I'm just using this toolbox here, just a cheap toolbox. As long as this thing, when it closes up dark. So what we do with that is we're gonna pour our resin into a paper cup, right? We're gonna slap our first coat of resin on. When we get done with that first coat of resin, we can put the UV cure inside the dark box. That UV cure resin won't set up. Really nice stuff. Set it off to the side. You're gonna open your garage out. You can bring your project out into the sun, let everything cure. You can wheel it right back in. You can open your dark box back up once your garage door is shut, and you still have good resin to work with. This thing won't set up unless UV hits it. Respirator, we're gonna have our volatile organic compound respirator on. I know a lot of old time surfboard makers that ain't right in the head from using these resins without a respirator. They didn't have it back then. They didn't know what it would do to them, and a lot of bipolar surfboard shapers. So it's a real thing. Make sure you wear your protective equipment. So let's get into this thing. We're gonna start up and we'll see how it goes.
We're gonna start in the back at the keel, work forward, maybe work this rail. We don't want to be leaning over our work if it's wet, so we're going to start at the keel. And I'm just going to start just coating this up. This is going to lay nice and flat. We got plenty of time to work with this. So we're going to continue this process on everything that I got taped off. We're going to wheel this outside, let it cure for a second. All right, now we're going to drag this thing out into the sun, let the first coat cure, redo the process one more time. We'll have 2 coats, then we'll be finished. That's it, just a couple minutes is all it takes for this to cure hard. We're gonna go ahead and push it back in now, put another coat on.
So here we go, we got the PVA, polyvinyl alcohol on it. You can see how it's curing up right now. It's already cured, just waiting for that PVA to allow that top little layer to cure up. But come out tomorrow morning, wash the PVA off, and do a little feather sanding along the seams. You can see that shiny, how that just sealed up all those little cracks. Okay, so everything's all cured up. We've washed the PVA off of it. The PVA definitely works on the UV cure, no tacky at all. But you can see that little strip I have down here. A little bit of a lip here. We're gonna get that lip sanded off. Get everything sanded down nice and smooth. It won't have that glossy finish. This lip should be gone when we're done with it. You can see here on the side, get a good angle on that. Same thing, just a nice little coat here just to seal everything up all the way down to the back here. I say we'll sand that down. We've done the same thing right inside here, right? All those cracks should be sealed up. And then if we look back here at the rails, see if I can get a good angle with the light. It's hard to see here, but there is some rippling here, right? And that rippling is because the resin has soaked into the cracks, which is what I wanted. And we're just gonna sand that smooth now. It looks almost like an orange peel, but it's not an orange peel. There you go, you can see it right there. You can see that little bit of a rippling on that, but that's where it all soaked into the cracks. And then we get done, that'll be nice and slick. So that'll be our next step, sanding that down, finding any more minor imperfections, and prepping it for priming. It might be a little while before we get to prime it. because of the weather, it's been just too hot, and we're not going to be able to spray or roll that primer on until it cools down a little bit. It's just too hot. That 2-part mix probably won't cure correctly. So, from Stonebrook Adventure, until next time,